start here. The State Security Agency is investigating self-defense weapons training camps being organised by farmers across the country. And they say it's not yet sure what their purpose is. Now, the number of these camps has spiked this year as public awareness around farm attacks has increased. But it's the involvement of a soldier from the former Israeli Defense Forces that's caught the attention of the State Security Agency. And this exclusive report was put together by Govan Whittles. Our reporter Govan, of course, has been following the story throughout. Let's cross over to him for a little bit more insight into this exclusive story. Good evening, Govan. So I'm interested about this story that you've done. How did you come across the fact that there are these training camps, ostensibly self-defense training camps, for the farms?
Yeah, well, they're not really well hidden, Sally, and they're not being hidden from the public either. Most of the evidence of these camps that are taking place in different parts of the country is available online, and you get some of the more formalized organizations that are offering these camps as an exclusive service to farmers and obviously making some money off of it. Some of these camps include the Color Combat camp, which you would have seen in the package that I produced. But then there are other camps like Fortress and as well as Cobra. But then there are also farmers' unions, the so-called Boerevereniging, which is essentially training up its members. And these are farmers that have formed unions in far-flung parts of the country and decided to undertake training by themselves. And it's mainly because of the slow response time by the police, but it's certainly not something that's hidden from the public. And as I've said, the State Security Agency says it's keeping a close eye on what's happening there, to the extent where it's monitoring what kind of training is taking place, and it's closely watching whether or not the training extends to the use of heavy artillery or bomb making, and it's not sure at this stage to what end these camps are taking place. But of course, according to the farmers, this is a very necessary exercise, and it is one of the only ways that farmers have to defend themselves against farm attacks, which often are over and suspects have fled by the time the police arrived. I spoke to the State Security Minister Ayanda Dlodlo just to give some insight into what the SSA's position is towards these camps and what they think about the fact that farmers are training themselves without any assistance from the police. Let's have a look at what Ayanda Dlodlo had to say.
There would be a threat insofar as what it is that is going on there. And again, I must emphasize, we are looking into these issues. We do know for a fact that there is training that is going on, but whether or not it is self-defense training or it is other types of training is something that we continue to monitor. I am not aware as of now that the training that is going on is training that is highly militaristic in the way that they do things. I'm not sure if that, I'm not told that they have been embarking on artillery training, bomb making and stuff like that. But it is worrisome where you have groups of people embarking on such training. Well, you will find a lot of soldiers around the world training individuals in countries, including probably defense forces and other agencies in other countries. But it is worrisome that we have people from Israel coming in here. If there is fear that this is training that is embarked upon for terroristic purposes, be rest assured that we monitor whatever we can on a daily basis on what goes on in South Africa.
So, you know, officially there isn't really much to worry about if you think about it, that these are far-flung remote areas where the police battle to get to quickly. It's often the farmers in the close vicinity who get to an area once there's been some sort of security breach. But she does sound a little bit worried about the involvement of Israeli, someone, an ex-Israeli force. Just give us a sense, because you're on the ground, how secretive are farmers about this? Is there a sense there could be something more sinister at play? And I ask this, of course, because tomorrow in Senegal, we know that we're going to have a group of farmers and we're going to have the EFF, both very emotional, intense groups of people. And I'm not sure whether self-defense groups thrown into that mix is a particularly good idea at this point.
At this point, there's no evidence to suggest that there's even an inclination towards anything sinister on the part of the farmers, and it does appear to be an appropriate exercise that they've undertaken to not only arm themselves, but to conduct training which would allow themselves to respond to groups of up to 10 people who are attacking their farms, approaching their farms from different directions with the clear strategy to inflict as much harm as possible and to make sure that they leave with after killing someone. And that's an experience that we've heard from a farmer just about 40 kilometers from where I am now in Marquardt. And we found that these self-defense units are akin to what we find in the suburbs, such as ADT security. And really, these farmers are looking for a security firm that will be able to respond immediately when the first alarm of a farm attack is sounded, and that will be able to not only protect or rescue the family and the workers that are on the farm, but have the capacity to hunt down and capture the perpetrators who are behind the farm attack. And then you get the comment from Ayanda Dlodlo, which really speaks to the monitoring that the SSA is doing here, and her concern around the involvement of Idan Abulnik, the former Israeli Defense Force soldier, training these farmers extends to them not being sure what exactly the purpose is of the training. But when you look at the service which is being offered by Color Combat, which is training farmers in self-defense exercises, also weapons training, they're quite clear that what they're doing here is equipping the farmers with enough skills to be able to respond immediately when there's a threat of a farm attack or a farm attack itself happening, and equipping the families with their own security plans to respond immediately when those attacks happen. And what Idan Abulnik and Color Combat and Fortis and Cobra firms are doing in training these farmers is not that different from what's happening in towns such as Bethlehem, Senekal, Paul Roux, and even Marquardt. The only difference maybe being the sophistication in the type of training. But when we spoke to the head of farm security in the Marquardt area, they were quite clear that the purpose of this is only to have a faster response time, and there isn't anything sinister behind it. But of course, the SSA is concerned that the training is sophisticated and it's not sure where it will lead, and that informs their monitoring of the farmers' training camps with weapons. But of course, we can't write off the fact that the SSA has been investigating right-wing elements in South Africa for a number of years, and they'll no doubt be taking a closer look as to whether or not those elements have infiltrated these self-defense training camps or are trying to radicalize farmers who have become disenfranchised with the police over the slow response to farm attacks and farm murders. Certainly fertile ground for that, as you've said, Sally, and it does appear to be a threat of a confrontation outside the Senekal Magistrates Court tomorrow. But there's been assurance from the police minister as well as the farmers in Senekal that they'll do their best to keep everything peaceful. I spoke to one Hannes de Bruin, he's the farm security manager for the Marquardt region, and he explained what the intention was, but also what they hope to achieve. Let's have a look at it now.
Daar waar hy op die plaas is hy alleen. Die plase is afgeleë. Polisie kan nie baie vinnig daar uitkom nie. So vir die eerste paar minute is daai ou op homself aangewese, en die enigste manier is om selfbeskerming aan te leer, oefeninge te doen, dit in stand te hou om homself te beskerm. Ons kursusse begin volgende week en ek hoop baie van die boere gaan daaraan deelneem. Ons het op hierdie stadium 3 groepe wat 'n week lank opleiding gaan kry, elke groep vir selfbeskerming op die plaas.